A smile is the cheapest tool in a traitor's kit. Machiavelli didn't stutter when he said that men are so simple-minded that a skillful deceiver will always find a victim. Most people are desperate to believe their inner circle is a fortress because they're terrified of the cold world outside. But listen close. Your biggest threat isn't the enemy shouting at your gate. It's the brother sitting at your table, watching how much water you pour. They don't want you to starve. They just want to make sure you're never fuller than they are. Think about that friend who was your loudest cheerleader when you were both struggling. Back then, you were equal in misery, which made them feel safe. But the moment you leveled up, got the house, the girl, or the contract, their face changed. It wasn't a blow-up, it was a flicker. That split second where their eyes go cold before the fake grin plasters back on. They start looking at your success like you stole it from their pocket. Machiavelli warned that men do you harm either because they fear you or because they hate you. A jealous friend does both. They fear your new power and they hate that they don't have it. You're in a trap if you think loyalty is a permanent state. Loyalty is a trade. When the trade no longer favors them, the mask slips. You see it when they stop asking how your business is doing, or when they start pointing out the risks of your new lifestyle to kill your buzz. They want to anchor you to the old version of yourself because that's the version they could control. Your tactic for survival here is to stop feeding the beast. If you sense that cold flicker, don't confront them. That just gives them a reason to play the victim. Instead, start starving the relationship. Stop sharing your wins. Give them nothing to envy. If they ask how things are, tell them it's a struggle, or I'm just getting by. Machiavelli knew that people only attack what they perceive as a threat or a prize. By pretending you're still in the trenches, you turn off their radar. You aren't lying. You are camouflaging your progress until you are so far ahead that their spite can no longer reach your heels. You don't need their applause. You need their blindness. A joke is rarely just a joke. It's a heat-seeking missile wrapped in a laugh. Machiavelli knew that men are either to be kindly treated or utterly crushed because they can take revenge for slight injuries, but not for heavy ones. The jealous person is too cowardly to strike you with a blade, so they use the slight injury of a public jab to see if you'll bleed. They are testing your armor. If you laugh along while they insult your hustle or your character in front of a crowd, you aren't being a good sport. You are telling them that you are a doormat they can wipe their boots on. Think about that moment at the office where everyone is riding high. Out of nowhere, your friend brings up that time you failed, or mocks the way you talk, or makes a crack about your partner. The room goes quiet for a split second, waiting for your reaction. If you chuckle and shrug it off, you've lost. You've just given them permission to escalate. They aren't trying to be funny. They are trying to lower your status so they can feel taller. They want to see that flicker of shame in your eyes because it feeds their starving ego. The ruthless exit from this trap is simple. Kill the comedy. When they throw that jagged joke at you, don't get angry. Anger is a confession that they hurt you. Instead, go completely cold. Look them dead in the eyes, let the silence hang until it feels heavy enough to suffocate them, and ask a flat, emotionless question. I don't get it. Explain why that's funny. Now the pressure is on them. They have to explain their malice to the whole group. They'll stutter, they'll say you're too sensitive, and they'll try to backpedal. Don't let them. Just keep staring until they look at their shoes. You've just performed a public execution of their ego without raising your voice. You've signaled that the cost of disrespecting you is a social humiliation they aren't strong enough to handle. In this game, if you don't bite back at the first nip, they'll eventually go for the throat. The most dangerous snake isn't the one you see in the grass. It's the one that whispers in the ear of the person holding the lawnmower. Machiavelli was clear. A prince must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. If you're just a lion, you'll charge at the first person who insults you and miss the puppet master pulling the strings from the shadows. Jealousy is a coward's game. Most people don't have the spine to move against you face to face because they fear your strength. Instead, they use proxies, third parties, co-workers, or mutual friends to carry their poison. They plant a seed of doubt, a concern about your loyalty, or a rumor about your personal life, then sit back and watch the fallout while keeping their own hands clean. Think about that person who always comes to you saying, "Hey, I heard so-and-so was saying something bad about you." They act like they're your informant, but they are actually the delivery system. They want to see you explode, burn a bridge, and look like the problem. If you react by attacking the person they named, you've fallen for the trap. You've just destroyed a relationship based on hearsay, while the real traitor stays close to you, gathering more intel for the next strike. They are using your own hands to strangle your reputation. The ruthless bypass for this is information poisoning. If you suspect a whisperer in your circle, stop being transparent. Feed them a secret that is completely fake but highly specific. Tell them you're planning a move or have a problem that doesn't actually exist. Then wait. When that specific piece of fake news reaches the boss or the group, you've just tagged the rat. Don't confront them. That's what a good person does. A strategist simply cuts the flow. You keep them in the dark, feed them more useless trash to keep them busy, and move your real plays in total silence. You turn their proxy game into a mirror where they end up looking like the liar to everyone else. When the whispers stop reaching the right ears, the jealous rival loses their only weapon, your trust. You've spotted the fake smile. You've paralyzed the joker. You've tagged the whisperer. Now comes the part where most people fail. The exit. Most people think cutting someone off is an emotional explosion, a big F.U. and a blocked number. That's amateur hour. Machiavelli warned that men should be either caressed or crushed, but if you can't crush them without making a scene, you have to outmaneuver them. If you leave a jealous person with a bruised ego and a clear target, they will spend the rest of their lives trying to sabotage your name. You don't want a martyr, you want a ghost. Distance isn't a wall, it's a fading signal. Machiavelli taught that a prince must avoid being hated, even if he cannot be loved. When you realize someone is rotting with envy, your instinct is to cut the cord. Don't. A sudden cut is a declaration of war, and a jealous person with nothing to lose is a suicide bomber in your social circle. They know your secrets, your rhythms, and your weaknesses. If you slam the door, they will spend their energy trying to kick it down. The goal isn't to get away, it's to make them want to leave. Think about that one person who always drains your battery, the one who looks at your new watch like they want to bite your wrist off. If you stop replying today, they'll tell everyone you've changed or become arrogant. Instead, you apply the strategy of controlled boredom. Stop being a source of nutrients for their ego. When they ask for your opinion, give them a shrug. When they try to gossip, say, "I haven't really noticed." When you win, keep it to yourself. You are building a ghost town. You want them to feel like being around you is like staring at a blank wall. The ruthless way out is to become a low-value target. People only cling to you when they can get something: information, status, or an emotional reaction. By becoming stone-cold and incredibly dull, you starve their jealousy. They can't hate you if you give them nothing to grip onto, and they can't compete with you if you stop showing them the scoreboard. You aren't running away. You are simply moving the goalposts to a stadium they can't afford to enter. By the time they realize the friendship is dead, you've already replaced your entire circle with people who operate on your level. You didn't break the bond. You let it rot until it fell off on its own. Silence is the only gatekeeper that never sleeps. You've distanced yourself from the loud enemies and the obvious snakes, but now you have to deal with the one standing closest to you, the one who won't stop clapping. Machiavelli warned that there is no other way to guard yourself against flattery than by making men understand that telling you the truth will not offend you. But the jealous person doesn't want to tell you the truth. They want to bury you under a mountain of fake sugar. They use praise like a sedative to make you go to sleep while they're sharpening their knife. Praise is a drug, and a jealous rival is your primary dealer. When someone is constantly calling you a natural, a genius, or the GOAT for every small win, they aren't celebrating you, they are insulting your effort. By labeling your success as talent, they're subtly telling everyone, and themselves, that you didn't actually work for it. It's a way to devalue your grind. If you're just born with it, then they don't have to feel bad about being lazy. Machiavelli knew that a flatterer is often more dangerous than an attacker because he attacks your judgment, not your body. They want you to believe your own hype, so you stop looking over your shoulder. Think about that person who's always the first to comment on your posts with fire emojis, but never shows up when the real work needs to be done. They talk about how easy everything looks for you. They're trying to build a cage out of compliments. If you accept the crown they're offering, you become a prisoner to their expectations. The moment you slip up, they'll be the first to say, "I guess the magic ran out." They are waiting for the genius to fail, so they can feel normal again. The ruthless bypass for this is aggressive humility. When they throw a heavy compliment at you, don't just say thanks. Deflect it with cold, hard facts about the cost of your win. If they call you a genius, respond with, "No, I just spent 40 hours on the research while everyone else was sleeping." Anyone who does that will get this result. By shifting the focus from talent to tactics, you strip them of their excuse. You make them uncomfortable because you're reminding them that the only thing separating you from them is the work they refuse to do. You aren't just rejecting the praise, you're highlighting their failure. Never let someone gift you a reputation they can take back later. Own the process, and the praise becomes a weapon you turn back on them. You've learned to deflect the fake praise that makes you soft. You've stopped letting them label your hard work as luck. But there is a darker, more inverted version of this game. Machiavelli observed that men are so restless that they cannot keep their minds still. And when they can't catch you at the top, they will wait for you at the bottom. The most dangerous point in your journey isn't when you're winning. It's the moment you stumble. That's when the sympathy trap is set, and the person who was once invisible suddenly becomes your closest shadow. Sympathy is the perfect camouflage for a vulture. Machiavelli warned that he who is the cause of another becoming powerful is the agent of his own ruin. And the jealous person knows this well. They couldn't stop your rise, so they pray for your fall, just so they can be the one to comfort you. This isn't kindness, it's an autopsy. They aren't there to help you stand up. They are there to measure the depth of the hole you're in. They want a front row seat to your failure because it's the only time they feel superior to you. Think about that friend who was nowhere to be found when you were celebrating your wins. But the second your business hit a snag or your relationship crumbled, they were calling you every hour. They want the juicy details. They ask, "How are you really doing?" with a look of fake concern that's actually a hunger for your pain. They're collecting data. Every weakness you confess, every tear you show, is a piece of ammunition they'll store for later. They want to hear you admit that you're broken, so they can feel whole again. The ruthless counterplay is strategic stoicism. When you are bleeding, do not bleed in public. When the sympathizer comes knocking for the details of your tragedy, give them a dead-eyed, boring summary. "It's a minor setback. I've already got the next 3 moves planned." Do not give them the satisfaction of seeing your struggle. Machiavelli knew that a leader must always maintain the image of strength, even in a storm. By refusing to play the victim, you starve their ego. They came for a feast of your misery and found nothing but a brick wall. When they realize they can't use your low point to feel like your savior, they'll get frustrated and leave to find someone else who's easier to pity. Your pain is private property. Don't let a rival trespass on it just to feel better about their own mediocre life. You've learned to starve the vultures who feed on your pain. You've locked the door to your vulnerabilities so they can't measure your graveyard. But Machiavelli didn't just worry about the frontal assault or the backstab. He knew the danger of the slow bleed. He noted that tardiness often robs us of the opportunity, and a jealous rival knows this better than anyone. They don't need to stop you with a wall if they can just trip you up with a pebble every 10 feet. This is the war of attrition, where they use small delays to drain your clock until your window of success slams shut. A snake doesn't always need to bite to kill your momentum. Sometimes it just lies across the path. In the world of power, timing is everything. A jealous peer won't tell you no to your face. That's too loud, too obvious. Instead, they'll give you a yes that arrives 3 days too late. They forget to CC you on the crucial email. They lose the phone number of the investor you've been dying to meet. They show up 20 minutes late to the presentation where you needed their backup. They aren't incompetent. They are tactical. They are trying to make you look disorganized and frantic while they play the role of the busy or distracted friend. Think about that partner or co-worker who always seems to have a personal crisis exactly when you're on the verge of a breakthrough. You're 5 minutes away from a life-changing meeting, and suddenly they need you to help them with an emergency that could have been handled yesterday. This is a play to tether you to their level. They can't run as fast as you, so they're trying to make sure you have to stop and wait for them. Machiavelli knew that a man who allows himself to be held back by the dead weight of others will eventually be dragged under by them. The ruthless bypass for this is redundant systems. Never leave your success in the hands of someone who has a reason to want you to fail. If you need a document by Friday, tell them you need it by Wednesday. If you need a ride to the airport, book a backup Uber anyway. Machiavelli taught that a prince must always have his own forces and not rely on the favor of others. When they hit you with the "I forgot" or the "I'm running late," you don't get angry. You don't even stress. You simply look at your watch and say, "No worries, I already handled it through another channel." You've just signaled that they are irrelevant to your progress. You've stripped them of their power to disrupt you. When they realize their delays don't stop your clock, they'll stop trying to jam the gears and start looking for a slower target. You've bypassed the traps, outrun the delays, and kept your blood off the floor where the vultures could lick it. You have become a moving target, impossible to pin down and too fast to sabotage. But there is one final eerie stage of jealousy that Machiavelli understood better than anyone: the obsession with the man who has what you want. He warned that whoever is the cause of another becoming powerful is the agent of his own ruin. When a jealous rival realizes they can't break your spirit or stop your clock, they stop trying to beat you and start trying to be you. They turn into a mirror, reflecting your every move while hiding a jagged edge behind the glass. The mirror of resentment is the final, desperate act of a dying ego. When a person realizes they lack the discipline to match your results, they try to steal your identity instead. Machiavelli knew that men almost always walk in paths beaten by others and act by imitation. But a jealous imitator isn't following your lead. They are trying to replace you. They start dressing like you, using your slang, hanging out in your spots, and talking to your connections. They want to wear your life like a coat because their own feels too small. It's a quiet, creeping theft of your personal brand, designed to make you look common and make them look equal. Think about that one person who used to mock your ambitions, but now mimics your every move. You buy a car, they get the same model in a different color. You start a project, they launch a similar one a week later. They aren't flattering you. They are trying to dilute your uniqueness. They want the world to see you as a pair rather than a pioneer. If you stay in the same place, they will eventually overlap you, telling everyone that they were the original and you were the fluke. They are parasites looking for a host to give them a personality they never had the guts to build. The ruthless evolution out of this trap is radical rejection of the familiar. The moment you see them mirroring you, change the frequency. If they copy your style, pivot to something they can't pull off. If they enter your circle, expand into a new one they don't have the keys for. Machiavelli taught that a prince must always be a new prince, constantly innovating so that his subjects and his enemies are kept in a state of suspense and wonder. Don't complain that they're copying you. That just makes you sound insecure. Instead, make the version of you they are mimicking obsolete. By the time they've mastered your old self, you should be 3 levels higher, operating in a reality they can't even comprehend. Leave them clutching a costume of a man who doesn't exist anymore. You don't win by defending your ground. You win by making the ground they're standing on irrelevant. If this guide helped you spot the snakes in your grass before they had a chance to bite, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Machiavelli taught that knowledge is the only armor that never breaks. Don't leave yourself exposed. Turn on notifications so you're always the first to get the blueprint on how to play the game of power and win. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever seen that flicker in a friend's eyes when you shared a win? How did you handle it? Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.